love you, and we thank you, and we praise you, and we give you glory, honor, and praise today. In Jesus' name, we pray. Our God is a divine leader, my brothers and sisters. You know, again, I'll talk about that ship. That ship was made to take you somewhere. My wife and I went on a cruise last week, and that big ship was designed to take us from one port to another. And we didn't jump ship. You know why? Because it was taking us to where we wanted to go. Now, you got to remember, a ship is meant to take you somewhere. So if you are in a relationship and a friendship, your worship, your companionship, your partnership, your worship, your stewardship, if you are on that ship and it's taking you the wrong place, get off. Get off, but make sure you wait till you get to port first and get off that ship and run to the right place. Run to God that he will lead you to his son, Jesus Christ, because he is a divine leader. How and where he leads his people, he knows. He leads them out of difficult places for testing. Deuteronomy 8:2 says, and thou shalt remember all the ways which the Lord thy God led thee these 40 years in the wilderness, to humble thee and to prove thee, to know what was in thine heart, whether thou wouldest keep his commandments or not. God will lead you through the wilderness because he knows what's in your heart. So let's not lie to God. Let's not try to do all these things that he will know your heart, because he knows you. He will lead you like a mother bird teaching her young to fly. Deuteronomy 32:11 says, as an eagle stirs her nests, flutters over her young, spreadeth abroad her wings, taketh them, bearing them on her wings. God said he will lead you. Read Psalms 91, my brothers and sisters. You're talking about some security. God is your security. There is no... they got so much security. The White House has all these secret agents and people that protects the president. But there is no security like that God has. He leads you in a plain path. Psalms 27:11 again says, teach me thy way, O Lord, and lead me in a plain path because of my enemies. God leads you just like a shepherd. Psalm 77:20 says, thou leadest thy people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. God will lead you, my brothers and sisters. He led you through this whole week. Did you depend on him? Do you really think that you brought yourself through? He did it. He did it. He did it. And he needs you to know that he did it. Don't attribute glory and honor to anyone else but to the Lord Jesus, because he deserves it. He did it. Remember, there's a way out of your mess, and it's JESUS. God loves you.
Where can you buy a brand new Nissan with a lifetime warranty? Kingston Pike. Hey folks, Gerald Anderson with Ted Russell Nissan. You heard it right. Every new Ted Russell Nissan comes with a lifetime warranty, and that's a long, long time. Ted Russell Nissan on Kingston Pike.
Resetting your password, unsubscribing from emails, printing, anything. Why are simple things sometimes so complicated? Thankfully, with an auto owner's insurance independent agent, getting the right coverage for your business doesn't have to be one of them. So you can get back to the important things, like learning how the printer works. That's simple human sense. Contact Fox Insurance Group at 865-482-0513 or find us online at grayfoxins.com today.
Good morning and welcome to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Ask Your Neighbor can also be heard and seen on our website, WYSHradio.com. And if you are in Anderson, Roane, or Morgan County and have Comcast cable, you can watch Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV Channel 12. Ask Your Neighbor is the program where you call in and do just that. Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a comment? Do you have a problem? Or do you have a question? Then call in and ask your neighbor. 865-457-1380 or toll free at 877-711-4005. And for those of you that might be listening or watching on the internet, you can email from our website, WYSHradio.com. Just click on the Contact Us button and email your questions. Now sit back and listen as listeners throughout East Tennessee and the entire world answer your questions on Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV 12 and AM 1380 WYSH.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. It is finally Friday edition. It's 19 degrees outside here at the Radio Ranch. We're up higher than everybody else, so it's colder. At least that's what I explain it to everyone. Tracy Wandale's in here with us, Anderson County Commissioner. Good morning, Tracy. How are you?
Good morning, Ron. Great.
Good to have you up here.
Man, it's good to be back.
Tell me what's been going on good in the world.
Good in the world.
In the world of Anderson County, how about that?
Well, I spent, Monday and Tuesday in Nashville with the government days for Tennessee County Commissioners Association, and really enjoyed that. Lots of good things, hopefully moving in the direction for counties to get some new funding, hopefully.
What are they talking about for extra?
Actually, Mayor Frank's been pushing it. She's the president, I guess, of the Association of County Mayors. She was selected this last go around, and I think her and the county mayors are pushing the idea of getting some of this real estate sales tax back to the counties, apparently. And I don't know much about it, Ron, but apparently there's most of it goes to the state, and I don't even think any of it comes back to the counties, but they're proposing to have it come back. Now, I ran into Representative Ed Butler briefly when I was over there for the breakfast the Tuesday morning, and he likes the idea, but he's worried about a fiscal note for it and how it would be paid out. And so, but I mean, that kind of confused me, because if the money's coming in, it's there. I don't know how you have to have a fiscal note, but maybe I'm not smart enough to understand.
If it comes in, you can't, well, unless they've already allocated it to buy something else.
Well, that's probably the case, Ron. I didn't think of that part. But no, it was good to see him, actually, and obviously caught up with Representative Scarborough, and it was just, in 19 years I've been doing this, Ron, going to government days. That's the first time I've ever been able to spend time with a state representative and felt as if the state representative actually was tuned in and cared about what was going on in Anderson County, not just Tracy, Anderson County. And I really appreciated the time he took. He took me and Commissioner Ebony Capshaw and Commissioner Shane Val, took us around. We met with him in his office, introduced us to his new secretary or assistant, and couldn't be more excited. In fact, I had approached him about the idea of, I know Val and Isabel have been working on trying to resolve the issue to get the water the rest of the way up the mountain there. Otis Phillips up that way. There's only a few residents up there, but there is property up there. There's been a frustration to try to get water up there. So I just asked Rick if he could check into it, and already got some potential ideas. I'm not saying it's going to get done, but there's some grant money available through TDEC, and of course there's a long process in that, but Rick's assistant said, well, Commissioner Wandale, we'll get you that information. I said, well, wait a minute. This is the man right here, Commissioner Val. That's his district, and but he'll take it from there. And he had been working on it, him and Tim.
Sure.
So I'm hopeful that something will come of that, and we'll try to get something worked out there.
Rick invited us to bring kids down and come down and show them through there.
Do it.
Oh, I'm going to.
Man, it's just refreshing. It used to be disappointing. I'd sit there, and I've been pretty involved with the Tennessee County Commissioners Association for a long time, and I've had my fellow commissioners from around the county say, Tracy, you going out with a representative tonight? You going over to see him at the Hill? And, I did go last year. One of the commissioners set up the meeting with John Reagan, but that was more geared to the voucher thing, and it wasn't really talking about anything else. But anyway, it was good. And
it's refreshing, is what it is.
Yeah. It's it's nice to have a representative that will engage you and talk. Doesn't mean you'll get what you want.
No.
It give you some feedback anyway.
Yeah, well, get you answers. It may not always be the answer that you want, but
and I think he'll answer everybody.
Yeah.
Not just me. I mean, I think he'll answer everybody.
It's a lot of times when people came to me and they had a concern because of Rick's Republicans that were worried about his past affiliation with the Democratic Party. I said, look, these are pretty much local issues that we have to deal with, one. And I said, this is what I can tell you. You may not get the answer that you want, but you'll always get an answer.
Correct.
And in contrast to what we had prior to that, you might not, if you got an answer, it was usually a lecture. But anyway, that hindsight's 20/20. So I'm happy we are where we are, and I think we're going to be just fine. And I appreciate the work that Rick's doing.
Yeah,
so.
Me too. I went to go introduce him to the executive director of the Tennessee County Commissioners Association, Charlie Curtis. Been there forever. Used to be a state representative years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was the first gentleman I actually heard when I went to my orientation back in 2006, and I thought, man, this guy, he's a Tennessean.
Mm-hmm.
I like this man. He's very Tennessean and conservative and Christian, and just a positive influence to be around. And when I went to introduce Rick, he goes, "Oh, I know this fella. He's a good man. He's already been coming to the devotionals." I said, "Okay." He said, "To have a freshman coming to devotionals, that means a lot." I said, "Well, that's cool." Rick didn't even mention that. So but that's the way Rick is.
Yeah, no, that's good. We will be well served.
Yes, we will.
And so that's, at the end of the day, that's, what do you think about, since we mentioned it, we'll talk a little politics. Where do you stand on the vouchers or what do they call them? Credits or
scholarships.
Scholarships. I mean, one thing that I had talked with a lot of school administrators about was the worry that BEP money would leave with the student. And then now when I read the new bill, it said this, and it to me it seemed vague, but it said that the public school would be made whole if the student left. Do you know, or have we, because that passed?
Correct, that's correct.
So my interpretation, if that was me, would mean that if they were getting $7,000 for little Johnny a year, and little Johnny went to Grace,
right,
then they would keep getting that $7,000, which was, when I was talking with Kelly Johnson, that was one of the big fears, not just money, but the fact that if little Johnny and 10 other kids left, they still had to have 7 math teachers, and they still had to have, so it wasn't that they were worried about the money, it was they still had to keep their criteria the same, the level of education the same, the number of teachers the same, heat and cool in the building the same.
Correct.
And that money was going to go. That phrase, make them whole, if it paid it, would alleviate some of those fears. But do you know any of the details of that?
I don't know any of the details, and you did a great job explaining, because that's kind of what I heard in Nashville, not from Rick. I didn't really get into it, that is already in place. But what I had heard from some other commissioners and people I was running into is just what you said, that they will remain whole. And so hypothetically, if, say, 100 students or 300 students leave Anderson County school system, they would still get those funds. Now, what I thought was intriguing to me is the response that it could help us in terms of not just, as you said, not just the money, but now maybe we'll have ability to have a little bit smaller class.
15 kids instead of 30,
yes,
but still with the same amount of money.
Yes, and get our grades up and be able to get better. I'm not saying we do a bad job. I love our Anderson County school system. Me and you both are on the same page there.
Yes, sir.
Clinton school system does a great job. Oak Ridge, I mean, we're blessed to have all of them. And but it's going to be interesting to see how it goes, because I'm just going to be watching to see, because I don't know all the pieces of the money and how it's going to, if, as you say, if Johnny leaves Anderson County and he goes to Grace or whatever school, and Grace is a great school.
Sure.
Not picking on anybody, we're just using it as an example. But what happens if Johnny decides he wants to come back to the school? How's that work? And those are the questions I have. But
I think and it depends. Both sides had a lot of documentation. And I think that, just like you mentioned, if the case is that the state will keep the school whole, it can actually give the public schools, a little bit of a boost.
I think it could, yes.
And so, maybe that will be the case. I hope that that's the case because,
Me too.
I'm not going to say we're lucky because it's not luck, it's hard work, but we have a work ethic with our teachers, certainly in the city schools, and I'm not throwing off on the county schools.
No.
City schools are smaller, and I'm familiar with both of them because my Rugrats have went through them both. But we have the blessing of having just a tremendous school system. So it's going to, I'm very, very anxious to see how it works out and how, hopefully it'll better, hopefully it'll better things. We'll see.
Yeah,
We get to pay for it.
Yep.
It's a lot of money. It is a lot of money.
We look back and I remember when we decided the school systems decided, city and county decided to do those computers for the kids, and that was a good move.
That was a good move. Well, I was talking. I'm not against private school, I'm not against public school. We tried Trey in private school in 7th grade. And in all honesty, that extra money would have helped. But
correct.
It's more expensive, and it didn't work for Trey. He needed to be with his friends, his people he'd grown up with. You know what I mean?
Right.
We were trying to think education-wise and all this, but there's a big dynamic. And again, Trey was my first kid, so he's the practice kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's who you learn on.
Yeah.
But the education, was fantastic. But the dynamic of his friends and those who he'd grown up with in the Clinton City schools and all that, and being separated from them, and that it just ended up, great student, smart kid. He excelled greatly when we brought him back over to Anderson County Schools.
Everybody, you're right. Parents make those decisions for themselves and their child, of course. And, it's just, I had a different mindset. Me and Shannon, I think, felt that our kids need to experience everyday, normal life. And there are going to be problems. There's going to be bullies. There's going to be the negatives. There's going to be, but we wanted them because look, I can put them in an area to keep them safe in a school, whatever, for that reason. But when they get out of that school, they're going to be hit smack in the face with reality, unfortunately. And we wanted our kids to be able to deal with those issues and work through those issues, but at the same time, they got a great education through the public school system. And again, I don't criticize anybody that wants, like you said, anybody wants to send their kids to private school, they can do that. And I'm not going to criticize anybody for that. In fact, I don't have any criticism for the governor. He had an idea he wanted to pursue, and he's the governor, and I respect him for that. Doesn't mean I have to vote for it. Of course, I didn't have a vote. So, but he did what he did, and I hope it works out. I mean, I remember sitting here many years ago. I think it was 2008, and Governor Bredesen put out the lottery bill, and man, I remember it being passed around at church, and he's the devil, and but those same funds are now going to be used to help support some of this scholarship program. So I think that's kind of intriguing, and also some of the money from the state gambling taxes that were coming 100% into the counties are now going to be down to 20% because 80% of it's going to be used to help fund the program as well.
So we were hang on, back up. The gambling tax. It
wasn't much money, Ron. It started off, so everybody that does these DraftKings and online sports betting, I'm sorry, online sports betting, there's funds that come into the state, and then those funds were dispersed to the counties. I assume the municipalities as well, but to the counties for sure. And it only started at like 16 or 18,000 when we got the first one, when it first got started. But I think it's come up to about 120. And again, don't hold me on that. Ronnie knows better than me. I don't follow it every day. But if if it is $100,000, we're going to.
Jasper's been busy. On the DraftKings. He's going to. I'm on him today.
Hey, maybe that's why he needs a raise.
But they're going to reallocate some of those funds. Is that
Yeah,
what
they're
they're
going
doing?
to. What I thought I read or heard, 80% of those funds will be used for this program.
For the scholarship.
And I don't know if that 80% will be used to give to the teachers as a raise, or they're going to use it for the scholarship. I don't know how, but they're going to be using those funds.
Well, some of the things coming up that we're looking at here in Anderson County, I know we're getting ready for a reappraisal. The that's a state reappraisal.
Correct.
And I don't know, is there anything we do on our end outside of Johnny just having to go out and, do we do that for the state? Do our people go out, look at the
Yes.
property?
My understanding is, and Johnny, he actually made a presentation to us at the operations meeting, and
I saw that.
he's very prepared. And my questions are always around the Oak Ridge area with all these properties transitioning over to whatever faction. And when DOE releases that property, I'm always interested in knowing if we can, get the tax
Put it on the
going
tax
back
rolls.
in. But and Johnny stays on top of it. But we got a lot of moving parts over there. I just always want to make sure we're.
Reappraisal years always makes the property assessor the most popular guy in the county. It doesn't matter.
I think Johnny's wanting to go to. I think his recommendation was going to a 4-year cycle, which I think is probably reasonable.
What are we on right now, 6?
We were 10, I thought.
Every 10 years
yeah,
in the
yeah.
state. Okay.
And again, I apologize, Ron. I couldn't tell you
No, it's-
straight away, but
Well, if you're going 10 years, it just seems like the lick is a bigger,
yes,
depending on what it is. And it never fails when this happens. We'll have folks whose property taxes go up.
Mhm.
And then the argument, and the last time I had somebody on here that it was hotly debated was when Vernon was in. And, he was trying to explain to him, because the tax base stays the same.
Right.
Yours goes up, but somebody else's went down.
Right.
I've never found any of them that went down. I've been here for 35 years. And I mean, we've had this conversation at least 4 times, that it's happened. And they always explain, well, you can't, you have to keep your tax rate the same or lower it because more's coming in. And the reason, yours went up, but this went down. So everything leveled. And I was like, whose went down? I want to know.
I guess McCamey, I used to get pretty upset about it and concerned, and McCamey would look across at me, Commissioner McCamey, and say, well, Tracy, just think of it this way. Everything has got a balance, kind of what you said.
Mm-hmm.
He said, we can't charge more, even though you may get a bill that says you are paying more, but at the end of the day, overall, we cannot make money off a reappraisal. We got to
Exactly.
stay balanced.
Exactly.
Basically. So he helped me understand that.
It's hard to explain that to the
It
guy
is.
whose taxes
Oh, it
went
is.
up
It is.
$1,000.
I mean, yeah. Yeah.
But that's when will reappraisal start? When are they going to do that, or do you know?
It's
for
coming
sure?
around the corner. I
Yeah.
didn't really pay attention to Johnny on the date, and
Okay.
I apologize. But Johnny's,
I know it's this year.
yeah, him and his staff got their arms around it. They do a great job, and he's got some new software I think he's interested in that not only would benefit his department, but also other departments throughout our county, and it was kind of intriguing on that technology. Seems like it's a flyover type deal or something. I don't know. I don't know enough about it, but it sounded interesting.
Okay. What else do we have going on in the county besides?
We're the fire commission. We met again talking about the possibility of setting up some kind of regular revenue stream. My hope is that the budget committee at some point can reallocate the tax base we have and put some funds to the fire protection to the volunteer fire departments. I ran into a
Our
commissioner.
trucks purchase ran out, didn't it? As far as we were
Oh,
getting.
no, the truck purchases is over. It's been
yeah,
over.
it's been over a number of years, but
It started in, I want to say 2012 maybe, or 2013.
wow.
It was a 10-year deal that went probably about 18 years because we started splitting trucks in half, pay for half now, so it really wasn't a 10-year deal. But and I'm not going to put words in the mayor's mouth, but I think what I heard her say is she's open to the idea of figuring out a way to at least use those funds that were already earmarked and continue that. So in Fire Commission, the fire chiefs, me and Commissioner Beauchamp serve on there, and we just ask them, what do you guys want? I mean, it's easy for us to say, well, you should get 10,000 or whatever the number is, but what would make you guys comfortable to where you can operate, maintain, keep your training in place, keep your equipment in place? And so they threw out a number. The low number, I believe, in commission, the recommendation was 700,000 to $1 million, but that would be split between all of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a recommendation. They're not demanding it or anything. But I ran into a commissioner from Hamblin County Monday up there, and I asked him, I said, what do you guys do for your fire departments? They have 4 of them, and he said, we give them $75,000 each year, and we make them come to the budget process and say, hey, okay, we plan to do X, Y, Z with our $75,000. As we all know, the money we give to a nonprofit organization, we don't really have any say-so
once you
give it. Yeah. So it's up to that organization. But we can say, hey, we'd like for you to give us a little synopsis of what you're planning to do with these funds, and so he said it works well for them in that regard.
Well, if you just could give the volunteer fire departments a base, you know what I mean? They still would probably have to do their chili suppers and things that they do, absolutely. But just again, I hope nobody within the sound of our voice ever needs them, but you don't realize how important it is, or how important they are, or how trained and well-versed they are in what they do until you need them. You know?
It's, for instance, Marlowe, I know they need a new truck. Theirs is basically down, so they're going to have to make an investment into a new truck. They'll have that payment. So they're looking at this possibility, if they're able to get a certain amount, 50 or 75,000, whatever, hypothetically, then they can use that towards that payment of that vehicle. But you're right, Ron. I mean, it's, the last snow, not this one, but the one before, it was so nice. My wife, obviously, she's on the fire board for the Claxton Volunteer Fire Department, so you hear the radio going off 24 hours a day, but, it's all good. But I heard EMA get on the radio, which was amazing to me, immediately request everybody report, and then they went to another channel, and Ron, I'm not kidding you, every volunteer department responded within minutes. This was for the tornado up in Morgan County.
Gotcha.
And man, it was so humbling to hear them all, volunteers and municipalities. Oak Ridge went,
sure.
I think City of Clinton went, Rocky Top, Norris even went. I mean, so to hear them all go, and again, this points back to what do you do as a commission and as a local legislative body? We took that $1.2 million and bought that TAC radio system, which provided all these radios, so now they can communicate. There's a few drop-off points.
Sure.
They're going to fix those, the state is, but it's just all kind of good stuff. So I was really proud of how they all responded and what they all did, and it was really, really interesting to see how it happened.
And it's one of those things, like I said, I hope you never need, but when you do, and I speak from experience because I've had to come save my butt, before. So I can tell you, not the volunteer fire department, but the city fire department. But it doesn't matter either way.
You're right.
You don't appreciate. I don't think you appreciate them enough till you need them. That's what you want. But
I unfortunately agree with you.
Yeah.
And there is a Saturday, I believe, maybe not this Saturday, but I think it's the 8th.
Okay.
Out at Medford. Medford is having a chili supper food.
Well, Medford, you guys ought to get that information to me so I can tell people about it.
There's a couple other things. I'll get you the information, Ron.
Give me the information. That's all right. Yeah, get it out here so I can tell people about it. So, all else well going in. Anything else new or things that we're looking at here in the county? I know one thing I want to talk to you about. I heard that they're going to maybe use the Bull Run facility for some of the development of these nuclear things.
We talked about that. That's Type 1 energy. It's going to be a fusion process. I saw that the mayor had an interview, and she did well talking on it. Of course, we know the mayor's on the nuclear team task force for the governor for the state of Tennessee. I went to Energy Community Alliance last year. I think it was in Paducah, Kentucky, believe it or not. And when I got up there, I noticed all these people were showing up, state representatives, state senators, and I've never seen these people attend these meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sitting there. Mayor had a conflict, so she couldn't be there. No one from Oak Ridge was able to come for whatever reason, but I was there from Tennessee, and I kept hearing everybody talk about Tennessee and how well advanced they are with the nuclear initiative. And they kept talking about Governor Lee and the $50 million he appropriated for that. So it dawned on me that, New Mexico, Arizona, Kentucky, several states, Missouri, I think, was there. They're there to figure out how they can get into the game of being in the nuclear renaissance, revival, whatever you want to call it. So, we are blessed to be where we are in Tennessee, in East Tennessee. There's a lot of stuff coming down the road. I attended a workshop meeting put on by DOE and Energy Community Alliance. It was very kind of them. There's only 20 people there or so. Had several commissioners. Mayor Frank, of course, was there, and executive from Rowan County, Wade Cresswell. Anyway, and of course, the mayor from Oak Ridge. It was a great meeting, and they're going to need about 10,000 people here in the next several years to meet all these obligations as we move forward. So,
good jobs, too.
Yeah, very good jobs. So it's intriguing. So Type 1 Energy, back to what your point was, it's going to be located in that Bull Run Steam Plant. As you look at the front of Bull Run Steam Plant, you'll see a brown metal building to the right.
Yeah.
The offices will stay. That brown metal building is the turbine room. That will stay. That is where they'll put this stellarator. It's magnets that go at high speed and produce this fusion process of nuclear energy. That's all I know about it.
It's magnets and it works.
But it's not. So that's the fusion process, and then I guess the fission process is what we would know as stuff that we would worry about, having radioactive stuff, waste, and things of that nature. So this is supposed to be
clean energy.
Clean. That's what. Yes. And I've been staying in touch with Type 1 and trying to get to know them better, and with TVA, and I think they want to be good community partners. I heard they were looking for a corporate facility in East Tennessee, and I contacted Rick Meredith to let him know, and I don't know if they're having any success, but they're going to locate somewhere here in East Tennessee.
Let me ask you about this little, dust up recently with with Mark Stevens, election commissioner, Robbie. What's going on with our election commission? What's going on there from a county commission standpoint?
Well, good question. I just kind of trying to figure out what was going on. It seemed as if there was an issue with some over expenditure, perhaps, and Robbie has certain guidelines he must be held to with the state and whatnot. And again, I'm not going to act like I'm some kind of financial guru, but so it seemed like Robbie was trying to get with Mark, and they kept missing each other or whatever. And I'm not throwing Mark under the bus or Robbie, but and I think it just, the communication line probably broke down, if I had to guess. And I think one of our commissioners, Commissioner Beauchamp, took exception to it, because and again, I'm not going to speak for her, but if I know Commissioner Beauchamp, she probably reached out to Mark and said, hey, can you update me on this maybe? And then he had a conflict, missed the meeting, and then it kind of leads to one thing to another. So it went through legislative committee, and legislative committee, I think, unanimously said a vote of no confidence. And then it came to full commission, and based on what I heard from everybody, I supported that motion from that committee, because usually that's what you should do unless you have a different reason.
Who appoints, or that's a state rep, state senate, state? I mean, that comes down from Randy and would be now Rick and
correct.
Maybe Mr. Butler. I don't know who all.
I think initially, and I may be wrong on this, Ron, but I think initially the mayor has some say so in it. But as far as making a change, and I'm not suggesting we need to make a change.
No, I know that.
I'm answering your question.
Yes.
That would be from Lieutenant Governor McNally, the senator who represents us in this district, and Rick Scarborough, the state representative. if there was a change, they could do that. Yes.
Do you have a chance to meet or talk with Randy any while you were down there?
No, I didn't catch up with Randy. I didn't try to reach out to him, but I know he's busy. I saw Ken Yeager. I got to talk to him a minute, and it was kind of intriguing to see him look at Rick and say, "We need to keep this guy around a long time." I said, I couldn't agree with you more.
Well, good. It's good that he's off to a good start.
He is, and he's got some bills he's going to put out there, and he's on a good roll, and it makes me feel good to have a representative that I think will take care of us.
Financially, how's the county looking?
Well, I think it looks good for the moment, but I am getting concerned with all the things we got coming up, and I just always worry that we're not going to have enough that state sales tax with the internet sales tax has really helped soften the blow for us and carry us through. And then, of course, we had a pretty good chunk of money from the ARPA, the COVID money, I guess you call it. That's winding down, so we did a lot of good things with it, though. I thought we got over $2 million worth of roads paved. We've got those radios at $1.2 million, and a lot of other things that I'm. We got new police cars for the sheriff's office. We got new EMS units for the EMS, and a lot of good things came out of
that. Where are we at with the beginning of the conversations for a possible justice center in the county?
Ron, I haven't heard any more about a justice center. It's kind of went quiet. It was seemed to be something that was of interest, and then
I meant to ask Russell when he was here Wednesday, but it fell out of my head.
I mean, I think it would make sense at some point, but again, the age-old question: how you fund it and all that kind of good stuff. But if we could do it, I think it would probably make sense. I don't know.
He was just talking. It popped in my head while I was talking to him, and like I said, I don't know why I didn't think to ask him, but he was just talking about on any given day when they're having court, they have about 80 people that they have to get them out, shackle them, check them, shackle them, put them on a bus, drive them up to the courthouse, and then if it lasts longer, if there's lunch, they have to reshackle them, take them back, feed them, bring them back, and every time take them through the metal detectors and everything else. And I know it's close, it's just from the river to the courthouse, but still, how many officers do you have to have if you got 60 or 70 people that you're putting on a bus and taking to court and then watching and all that? And
I mean, you got me thinking. I don't know that this could happen, but you're right. There's a lot of mass movement of people,
especially when they're in Oak Ridge. It's the Oak Ridge court too.
Wonder if we could just. I mean, it seems as if the one jail pod we don't use. I wonder if we could restructure that to where the judges could go there. And then
an idea is born.
Well, I mean, and I know they got to maintain documents and all that, but in today's technology, can't imagine we couldn't keep up with it. But I don't know. I'm no expert in
Lots
that.
of ideas out there, and I've talked about it before. I think we're the only county that's got two. Not necessarily my cup of tea. I just feel like, and a justice center might be the answer to that. If you have. They'd still have to drive the extra 6 minutes to get up here, and I know how inconvenient that 6 minutes is, but...
Well, I don't argue your point at all. I'd certainly listen and see how it
goes. Folks in Oak Ridge are getting tired of me bashing their courthouse. I get calls like, why do you do that? I said, because it's a waste of money. That's why I do it. I mean, Nashville's the capital of the state, and they got one big courthouse. You don't have 9 stretched out all over the city. Anyway, that's just me. But everything else is good?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, everything's good.
Most, I said this the other day, and I say it when the sheriff's here. Usually no news is good news in our business, because the stuff that makes news is always the salacious stuff.
Yes.
And when things are running smoothly, nobody's fighting and nobody's arguing, it seems kind of mundane, but in the grand scheme of things, that's good.
Yes, yeah, it is.
What do you see? I mean, when you guys go into budget and all of this, are we still predicting that we're going to continue to see increases in our revenue from the internet sales tax and that kind of stuff? Has that flattened, or is it continuing to grow? Or
it seems to flatten at this time of year, but it doesn't look like it's went down very much at all. I think and Robbie does a great job, his staff and everybody in that department. It looks as if we're staying about flat for this month, and that's the trend you see every year, and you get to compare it right away with the charts Robbie provides. So I would say we're on target. So with that, we always seem to see an increase, and that's the way it's been the last 5-6 years, really.
Something else that's been a little bit controversial, the animal shelter. And I don't know what to believe, what to think. I've never had any problems with the animal shelter. I've never had any issues, but I hear people all the time saying it's either unmanned or it's terrible conditions. And we've had this conversation for a while, it seems like, on and off. But what's the issue going on with the animal shelter? What's our liability? What's our obligation as the state, as the county, and what are we looking at to do? What are people upset about, and what remedies are there, if there are? That's probably
That's how you end in the show, Ron.
That's probably a mayor question, because that's but.
And you're absolutely right. Mayor is in control and in charge of the Anderson County Animal Shelter, and I think also perhaps the animal control, the officers. So the animal shelter was developed years ago, and I can't remember the exact start date. But the mayor was very instrumental, her mother and aunt and many others, building the first shelter, and they built it out of donations. And
I think Commissioner Belaski was probably, Robin was big in that.
Absolutely. And I mean, checks were coming in, and they got them built. They got the prisoners to build the current location off of Blockhouse Valley now. And they formed a group then to do these things. And then after a while, the group was kind of disbanded or what have you, and the mayor ran it, and then things progress, and where we are today, and as you know, I've tried probably 2+ years ago now to form a task force to be a liaison, if you will, to have people to come in, and we'd get the suggestions. The mayor and Jay Yeager at the time made the bylaws as such that we'd have 45 days, get those recommendations to the mayor. The mayor would have 45 days to respond and get them back to us. For whatever reason, I mean, she got some back, and I'm not here to debate all that stuff. I'd like to see things move. I'm not here to complain and argue, even though some probably think that's what I love to do. That's not what I love to do. But after about 18 months, it was clear to me that, and when the resolution to form a committee again failed, that really bothered me, because I felt like there was a lot of folks who spent over 18 months working to all these questions that we might be asking, this, that, and we built it, and we said, hey, let's just get a committee. Let the mayor pick who she wants, get commission to put a couple people on it. Mayor's still in control of it. Nobody's taking anything away from the mayor.
Sure.
And that failed. The mayor wasn't there that day. She had an emergency, and it was a voice vote, I guess. And I don't guess, I know. So I was contacted about 4 or 5 days after that by some animal folks, and who voted how? I said, well, let me find out. I really didn't pay attention, because I thought we did a voice vote, but I thought it would be on the board. Don't ask me why I thought that. But, I found out after getting with Commissioner Mays, Chairman Mays, it was a voice vote. He said, if anybody has any questions, contact him. I said, well, I'm not challenging that it was a voice vote. I just was wondering, do we know who voted how? That's all. And, we couldn't find the answers to that, other than it failed due to a voice vote. So last meeting at operations, I got to doing some digging.
Don't they film those?
They do, but apparently you can't hear it or something.
You can't, okay.
I don't know. So I decided that I would do some legwork, and I got the minutes from the operations. I got the minutes from the animal shelter, the operations, and the minutes from the meeting in March, I think it was 18th, that we had that voice vote. And I decided that I'd like to see it back on the commission agenda so we can revote simply to cast our vote on the board.
Yeah.
And I've told all the commissioners when I made that motion that you can still vote no or yes.
It's just going to be public.
Just going to be listed. That's all.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do an end around to make you vote differently. I mean, you could still vote no. It's okay. I'm not going to be.
But the population wants to know who voted how.
Yes.
And that's fair.
And again, this isn't, and I mean this. This isn't something Chairman Mays did intentionally or anything. It was. I get where they come from, Chairman Mays, and is if it's not his thought process is, I guess, if there's no money attached, then we don't have to use the board. But there is a rule. I went to a rules committee a couple weeks ago, and I was sitting in there reading the rules. I'm not on the rules committee. I was waiting to go into operations, and I saw this rule that says we, as a commissioner, we're allowed to ask at any point for a roll call vote. So we don't have to get a second.
Yeah.
You just request it.
Yeah.
So that's on me, and I got to start learning that. In fact, I gave compliments to Commissioner Foster because he's done that a few times. He's asked for a roll call vote, and we've done it. So again, I don't think it's anything Chairman May's done. Just to do. It's just part of the way he thought it probably would be best, and so we're going to go vote on that Monday, I guess.
So it's not a debate about funding the animal shelter or anything. It's a debate about the operation, or people are concerned, or what is the
what I hear mostly, and it's been the same.
A lot of unmanned. I hear a lot.
Well, I hear that, but I'll have to say these two young ladies, and I can't remember their names, but they're very young, but they do a tremendous job at the shelter. I went there 2 or 3 weeks ago after I started hearing some rumblings about the shelter, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to just go over and see. It's in my district. I'm going to go look and see. And I've been there before, but I just pulled in, and these two young girls were there. I've seen them before, and I apologize, I forget their name, but it just bothered me that we're not giving them the tools they need.
Gotcha.
And they weren't complaining. They didn't say anything about, we don't have this. They say, hey, Tracy, thanks for stopping by. Let us show you around. And I said, look, I don't want to get in your way. I'm not here to cause any trouble. And they said, no, we love it when you stop by. Come on. And they took me around, took me to the cat cages, and it was kind of intriguing. You see all these cats, beautiful. I mean, absolutely beautiful. And I started taking pictures. I said, can I put pictures online? They said, yeah. I said, well, how do you guys put them online? Well, it seems like they do sometimes. Sometimes they don't, but the cats, from what I understand, go to PetSmart over in Oak Ridge. And then they work with the county to get them adopted and all that kind of good stuff. So I went and took pictures of the dogs and stuff. But, I guess from what I'm trying to say is I just feel like we could do a better job. And that's not a slam to the mayor, okay? I mean, I know.
No, I know.
I suppose she thinks I'm just out to get her on this animal shelter. I'm not out to get anybody, In fact, I stepped down off that committee because I had somebody tell me out in the community one time, boy, you got the mayor that day. It bothered me.
Yeah.
I don't want people to think my role in the local government is to get the mayor.
Yeah.
That's not my role. My role is to help us all be together, and I know I'm not perfect. I know I say things that aren't good, but anyway.
No.
So at that committee, before we disbanded, I decided that, hey, Mayor, you and Commissioner Barron seem to be communicating very well, and I see that you're answering him, and he's answering you, and I think I'm going to step down as chairman. I'd like to have Commissioner Barron be chairman. That way we can remove this political stigma, whatever we want to call it. So we did that.
Okay.
And I stayed on as a member, and
Sure.
and Barron did a good job, and it just kind of fractured and went away. I think people just got frustrated after so long, and then when that motion failed to have a committee, I think it just bothered a lot. So the biggest problem, you asked me, I think is this: how can we have an animal shelter and not welcome volunteers to help us? that bothers me.
Okay.
I know there's some volunteers that do a tremendous Slum Dog, I think they're called, does an amazing job. Sarge, ARF used to be, and I don't know all the names, and I apologize if I'm leaving anybody out, but in the animal control business, animal shelter business, it's important and I think imperative to have volunteer grassroots organizations attached in some capacity. And look, I know we're going to get people that might become a problem, I guess, or whatever, but to me, if you have a committee, you can control that. Yeah, you can address those issues. But so Commissioner Foster, in one of our meetings 4 or 5 months ago, 6 months ago, I don't know, he made a motion to do away with the animal shelter task force. I seconded it.
Okay.
And then he looked at me very surprised, and I said, I'm going to tell you why I'm going to second this, because I spent 18 months doing this. When I started, I said, I'm not going to waste my time. And we are at a point where I'm wasting my time. We failed the motion, so I'm going to step down, and from this point forward, any complaints, problems, will go to the person in charge, Mayor Frank, and Damon.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody calls you and says their dog got killed by a Doberman Pinscher or whatever, you can call one of those two folks, and they can take care of your needs. I think it's too much for just those two people, and I'm not saying they can't handle it, but
I understand.
So I got to doing some checking. I went to the comptroller's office online, and I found something from 2008. And it was from Comptroller Morgan, a guy me and Shannon ran into. The only time she's went with me to the state, and I think I told you a story before. I was going through the hall, and these guys said, "Hey, come on in this meeting." I said, "No, we're just." Well, we go into this meeting. It's Morgan and a couple other people, and we were just amazed. The water authorities were there and stuff. Anyway, so Morgan, I walked out there and said, "Man, I'm impressed with that guy. He's a Tennessean. He's a good man. You can tell. All three of them were." But so Morgan in 2008 requested this study. It was the research and something group through the state where they actually, and I've pulled it and I'm starting to look at it, but it was addressing the concern for the lack of animal control in the state of Tennessee and recommendations on how to address those items. Now, I don't know if anything's happened. So what I've done this morning is I sent Rick's girl, Amanda, that research, we'll call it, report, and asked her if she could see if anything has been done since that report, any TCA codes, whatever. If she's got time, provide it to me so we can see where we're at.
Implement it if there are.
One of the recommendations I thought was kind of cool is they had a suggestion to take the tags, what do you call them, Ron? The vanity tags.
Yeah. Oh yeah, vanity.
Yeah. Take those funds and they recognize, and it really amazes. Mr. Morgan is ultra conservative. He ain't going to give out no money. He's staying with the state. For him to say that we need to figure out how to fund these, and what was really cool is they referenced the city of Oak Ridge as one of the top animal shelters with protocols in place. I think Knox County, Oak Ridge, Chattanooga, and maybe out towards Memphis or Jackson, maybe. I don't know. But I was just blown away, and I think that's something we gotta get to.
You're talking about the vanity tags where they got the dogs or whatever on them. Maybe allocate that back toward the animal shelters in your area.
At the time, it was $190,000. He was suggesting that was something that could be looked at. I know that's not enough money, but we gotta do something. I mean, we need.
What do other places do? That's the thing. I mean, is it just it almost seems like a county department.
It is.
Or then it ought to be ran just like another county department.
It should be, and to your point, you're absolutely right. Most all departments have.
And I'm not saying it's not. I don't know.
No, you're not being cruel. Yeah. So all departments, the Veterans Office has a committee, right? I mean, everybody has a committee to kind of, go through operations.
Checks and balances.
Yes. So, and I'm hopeful we'll get there. And if we don't, my fear is if we still don't do one, it's just going to get worse and worse. And I'm not going to get negative. I'm not going to get and prove why we need it. I mean, I think there's enough proof in the chatter out there on why we need it. We don't have to prove on paper why we need it, but certainly could.
So, long story short, whatever the strengths or weaknesses are of our current animal shelter could be reinforced by additional voices and ideas and people, I guess, to make the good better and alleviate some of the problems that we're having.
Yes, and again,
two heads are better than one, right? That's what they're saying.
I think so, and the mayor can appoint those people. I mean, she can find her 4 or 5 people and that she trusts. I mean, I hear this scuttlebutt from time to time that people make threats and this and that, and I just...
Well, we've had a history with the animal shelter. I mean, it's not something that just kind of just flashed in the pan. It's been something that's been going on, like you said, you go all the way back to the need, with Commissioner Belaski and, the efforts that were being made there. Joe Hall is, I mean, there's been a need for a while. And
we can help by, getting the program out for spay and neutering and stuff, but I mean, the budget now is up to about $420,000 overall. But again, I'm going to say 75%. I used to say 85% was for salaries. Now it's probably 75%. That doesn't leave a lot of money to operate, maintain, medicine. There's not a lot of money there to run that department. And then you got vehicles and things, and it's just.
Well, I know that it's. I mean. People call and complain all the time. Well, I called animal control. There's a dog in my yard 2 weeks ago. And somebody asked me the other day, how many animal control officers do we have patrolling that are out in the county? I couldn't answer the question. I thought one.
I think one, and I can't answer that either, Ron, because I don't know. I know we don't have enough. But Shannon was saying this to me the other night. She said, Tracy, when Rex was in office, it ran the best it ever ran. And I said, well, what do you mean? And she goes, remember Rex just contracted with the city of Oak Ridge. He cut a deal for $20,000 and we'd collect them and take them to them, and then we're done, I guess. But I don't think we can do that now, but if the city of Oak Ridge could team up with us. I asked a guy from Campbell County while I was away this weekend in Nashville and how it was working, because I know they went from they went to a nonprofit to let them run it.
Yeah, they contracted. I don't know if it's contracted or turned it over. I don't know, but yes, I read that. They're pretty active. They're pretty aggressive on social media and stuff like that with their critters. I see a lot of that.
I think, again, look, if we all want to fix it, we can do it. And I'm not saying we're going to be perfect, but, I'm not here to go after anybody per se. I mean, it's an issue. It's been an issue, and it continues to be an issue. And I'm fearful that we're just going to keep kicking the can down the road, and we're going to end up in lawsuits after lawsuits. And I've had enough lawsuits. I'm sick of lawsuits. I'm sick of losing taxpayers' dollars. And when we drop $1 million here and there, that bothers me.
Mm-hmm. We've lost quite a few of them too, haven't we? And it's
fortunately, I think our new law director, Mr. Jamie Brooks, is a man that.
Just going to ask you about that. I know. Jimmy came in kind of on an interim basis after Jay passed away. Mm-hmm. Is he now the official?
He is the official law director for Anderson County.
And now, and that's not elected. That's a term that now comes. Because I saw where, I think it was the second time the law board was called, or whatever. What's it called? The
Legal Services Advisory Committee.
I think, is that it?
Yes, I'm part of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It hadn't met Ron since 2019.
Was that when I did it?
Yes.
That's what and that was the first time it met.
That is correct.
So it's met twice.
Okay. No, well, we've met
since. Okay.
Jay was still around when we started meeting again.
Okay.
Okay,
good.
But when we had the last lawsuit concern, I was in commission. I said, why don't we have this meeting? By state, private act states, we are to meet and
I know.
Do these. Anyway,
I went through all that.
Yeah, I know.
I was keenly aware.
I know you.
But when I saw that we were having a meeting, I said, wondered if that was to go ahead and confirm, full-time appointment.
He was confirmed probably 2 or 3 months ago. And we took applications. He applied.
Yeah.
I mean, we took applications. We reviewed as a body the applications, and we voted, and he won.
It's a different way. Is it a great difference between the way that Jay handled things and the way Mr. Brooks handled things, Mr. Yeager, Mr. Brooks?
So far, I can't say there's, from a legal standpoint, I think they're both were very talented. I think on the upside is Mr. Brooks isn't.
Let me say it for you. Is it less political now?
Yeah, he takes a very balanced approach to everything.
Okay.
He doesn't overreact, and I'm not saying Jay did.
I know.
But, I mean, everybody knows Jay. He probably did from time to time. Like me, I point the finger at myself. I've overreacted many, many times, unfortunately. But, I'm excited to have him because, and I think I may have told you this, Ron, but this really blew me away. I went to a veterans breakfast late one morning, and I ran into Forrester, who beat Brooks.
Yes.
And he said, hey, it was just me and him outside. He said, who you guys gonna go for on Phil and Jay's spot? I said, I don't know. I've heard a lot of different names. I've heard Brooks. I heard this, and he goes, you know what? I would endorse Brooks. I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. I said, that means a lot to me to hear you say that. And one thing I learned from you guys when you ran for office, we all can learn from you guys, because you didn't attack each other.
No.
You didn't disparage each other. You ran a great campaign. The people voted. You won. And he never said a negative word, neither did you.
No.
I love that. So that's the way we should be.
Well, that's good. I think, I don't know Mr. Brooks that well. I've only got to meet him a couple of times. But here, and I've been in front of him.
There's been some discussion about going to a voting type, but everybody's got their opinion. But I feel like we have a private act we run by. The private act gives us the tools and the guidance we need to implement our law director's office. Our law director's office and Rex and several of them, the department heads told me this after the last meeting, was designed initially to be self-funded to do the taxes, the property taxes, and those funds were supposed to go back in that office to help cover the costs for that office. And for whatever reason, that I think politically got separated on both sides, not any one side.
Yeah.
And it would be nice. And again, I'm not, Regina does a great job. I have zero problems with Regina. She knocks it out of the park. Trust her with everything. She's just a great person. So, but she would have the ability to do what she wants to do. We went down another path for a while, and that's cost us a lot of money, and we lost a lot of money, and wasn't her fault.
Are you talking about delinquent property?
Yes.
That's delinquent property sales.
$150 a hit for quite a while, and it kept going and kept going and kept going. And but anyway, no, I think Jamie's going to do a great job, and I think he's the right man for the position at this time.
The only thing that I don't like about the private act, for one, the Legal Services Committee, it took a majority of that committee, if indeed, to replace the law director. All right. And then it went to commission as a recommendation out of that committee. For one, Jay had been our attorney for a decade and they'd never met. That's the first thing. Second thing is, some of our elected office holders, elected officials in the clerk's office, said to me, we really don't want to be responsible for hiring and firing attorneys. I mean, I had 2 or 3 people come up and they said, I run for office. This is not. They kind of felt out of place being. Here, you were there the day that, arguing about what the merit was. But so these people have to form an opinion about, a legal opinion about an attorney, and then send a recommendation up to commission where, I don't know if it's 3/4, it's pretty large.
2/3.
2/3, okay, of commission has to agree to it. And so it was told to me right after it came in that it was done. It is set up to almost be impossible to remove somebody without some kind of egregious, malfeasance or something like that. So it just seems to me that it's a hoop to jump through that nobody really wants the responsibility of handling, and especially when you're an elected official. I mean, Jeff Cole was on it, Tim Shelton was on it, the mayor was on it, Gary Long was on it. All of them would have had to fire the county attorney. And people that like the county attorney might not want to rehire somebody or revote for somebody who did that. Those are the exact words said to me. I mean, I had people call me and tell me they may not come because I was exactly where I was ready to. Either he was going to write me an apology and admit that he lied, or I was going to sue him. And luckily, it ended up okay. But I mean, people called me and were concerned because one said, "You're putting me in a really." Right. Putting us in a position to where we're going to have to.
So where we're at now, and you're correct, okay? And some of the department heads you mentioned have expressed those concerns in our recent meetings. In our meetings,
I think it's hard on them.
Well, it is.
And it's out of their purview. I don't know nothing about law.
Well, I suggested that we're in the process of rewriting the Private Act. That's our mission.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Everybody that's on the committee, they have every right to give a suggestion on what they would like to see done differently. That's the way we opened up this meeting going into this year.
Sure.
The mayor is the chairman of the committee, and I guess I'm the vice chairman. But anyway, what we need to do is we all need. So when I heard some of those comments, and I agree with the concerns from those department heads, okay? So my statement was, well, then drop off. Don't be a part of the committee.
Well, I thought it had to be. I thought each department head had to be.
Right now it does.
Okay, so you rewrite it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Put commissioners on there.
Okay.
Commissioner Palmer has been to about every meeting. She listens, and sometimes she'll talk. She can't make a motion.
Could you not invite, even if you had to pay something, people from a legal background, whether they be paralegals or whether it be other, that could sit and hear? It just seems to me, I mean, I could run for office and be a county commissioner today.
Yeah.
But if you set me down and you're going to ask me to make the decision on a legal basis on somebody, an attorney, who studied 10 years to be an attorney and goes back every so many years to make sure and you want me to make the decision on whether or not they're doing right, I'm not qualified. Neither is Denise Palmer, or probably you for that matter.
No, I agree.
Yeah,
but the Private Act doesn't say our job is to micromanage the law director.
Well, you hire and fire him.
We hire and fire him.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's micromanaging as you can get, Tracy.
Well, I mean,
not his job, but if he does something wrong.
Well, we got different opinions on that.
I don't mean it like that.
To me, if you're going to hire somebody or fire somebody, those are the two extremes. You're going to hire and you're going to fire.
Agreed.
My world of micromanaging is, hey, what are you doing today? And, I need you to do this different. And
I agree with that.
But I would also argue, Ron, we wouldn't be out several $1 million if we'd have been meeting regular like we were supposed to, based on the Private Act, and getting information and maybe asking a question. What is going on with this case? And instead of having that information at a full commission meeting where you really can't get into the details because it can compromise the case. So,
in other words, if there had been more communication, you wouldn't come to a position where commissioners or elected officials might be not compromised, but put in a position to make that hard vote if they had been taking input they hear from people and bringing it to this committee and sharing it back and forth.
Commissioner Beauchamp had some great suggestions in her list of, I think Tim Shelton had some suggestions as well. I can't remember, but so we're in that process right now. We are looking at how do we redo the Private Act to make it amenable, workable for everybody, and make it hopefully run more smoothly.
And see, and everything's fine until something's not. You know what I mean? Everything runs great.
Absolutely right.
I was amazed that it had never been met, until 2019 or whenever it was. But at the same time, there hadn't been I guess, issues that required it. Everything, it doesn't. You don't start oiling stuff till it squeaks, and that's.
But we're getting things squared away. I mean, to the mayor's credit, she got the ethics committee thing back online. It hadn't met for many years, and you're supposed to put in the minutes yearly to the state. And but we're all above. We're all level now. Where the mayor got that taken care of, and she did that through the Legal Services Advisory Committee, so it's all good. So we'll see where they all go. I mean, if I'm a department head and I'm uncomfortable, I want off the committee.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple. I just went off the committee because I don't want that responsibility. And it's okay. I'm not going to be mad at you.
Sure.
I mean, that's a reasonable, smart, probably thing to do. Let's just make the committee up of, maybe we need to make other attorneys on. I don't know. I'm
sure, but when I did my research and realized that I, with a complaint, could call a meeting or could request, and therefore had to call me. I had calls, Ron, is there not, I don't want to do this. I don't want to go to this.
Well, as you know, Ron, I mean, you're a little different than most people. You have a little bit of a voice here, right?
My point is, I think you're on the right track. If you want to be on this committee and you've got the time and you're willing to serve, great. If it's something that you feel might compromise you, keep you from being as good of a department head as you can be or whatever, then there could be an avenue for someone.
See, the mayor
else.
has the ability to get her own legal representation at any time anyway.
Sure.
So, and that's just another...
And she serves on the committee, too.
Yeah, she's the chairman.
Yeah, she's the chairman of it.
I actually, when Jay was still alive,
Mm-hmm.
and we met for the first time after the time, and we had to pick, chairman and whatnot, and I said, well, I got a question. And I said, could Jay, the mayor, be the chairman? And he looked at me and said, she could. And I said, well, Mayor, would you be interested? I don't know. So then I moved the mayor be chairman. We got second, and she graciously took it. And she's been, I'll be honest, I mean, she's knocking it out of the park. She's doing a good job. She's very detailed, and she's keeping everything, all of us up on board. But right now is the time. I mean, if any of the commissioners, I try to tell commissioners, I mean, Commissioner Foster had made a motion to bring the law director to operations to give a report, and I said, well, Commissioner Foster, we're having a meeting Friday morning. Why don't you just come to the meeting? And I get where he's coming from. He wants to be able to get a report at the operations, but we could forward that report. But if folks like Commissioner Foster or any of them, any commission, I think the more the merrier. If you want to serve on that in that legal services committee, then come on. It kind of gets me back over to the 1981 Financial Act we run by, and I've been doing a little digging into that. And the Financial Management Committee, which I'm a part of, and the mayor and several others, is the 1981 Act. That's the group, that Financial Management Committee is the group that really dictates the flow of the county. We haven't, in my mind, really been doing that. We have the budget committee, which you can have. I heard one county that runs with the 1981, what they do for their budget committee is they have an individual from their financial management committee act as the budget committee reporter, right? That person goes to full commission, and full commission votes on the budget, which I thought was a great idea. Sounds because right now we have 8 commissioners, and it only takes 5 to knock out. And
something important to one person or another.
Yeah, McCamey has, he's said this from day one. And it's not that people are wrong, but everybody should have a voice. Everybody should be able to talk and discuss.
Well, we've got the number of commissioners we do for a reason.
Yes.
So that their representation is equal across the county.
That's right.
And so, yeah.
I thought that was so cool that they have the whole budget. The budget committee is full commission. So they meet once a month, and they talk about the budgets, and they vote it up, vote it down. The fellow gets the information, he brings it to the financial committee where the mayor's at and everybody, and says, and then they take action.
Yeah, with all of the positive things or possible positive things come to the county, with all the growth and stuff coming to the county, I I don't know if I told you this or not. I don't think I've said this on the radio or not. I don't know if I'm supposed to say what I'm getting ready to say on the radio or not, but I was reached out to a number of years ago. I think you know this. And I was invited to be on the TVA board. The main
Yes, I remember that.
And I declined that. I just felt like I respectfully said, I don't know anything about making electricity or land.
You know business.
Yeah. And it was said to me, well, this is kind of a political plum. And I said, well, that's our problem. There's a used car salesman literally today that sits on the board of TVA, and he don't know any more about generating nuclear power or electricity than I do. And I declined that. Recently, after the last election, I've been asked if I would be interested in serving on the FCC, the Federal Communications Board, because they took a member, and President Trump moved him to be the chairman, and so there's an open seat, and they want a conservative in that open seat, replace it. So I thought, well, toss that around a little bit. So
you should.
I did. My name's in. I'm surprised they haven't called you yet on a security check.
Good,
They're climbing up everybody.
Well, I hope so.
But they said, I said, Senator, that might be something I might be interested in. And they said, well, send me your resume. So I haven't written a resume in 45 years. So I got some people, and they did that. But I got to thinking about it. And I don't know that even if it's offered, and I don't know that it will be, if I would take it. But I got to thinking, I still have that desire, to serve. It's I've kind of, when the twins were born, that was right after that. It was prior to that I was highly engaged, and I've spent the last 14 years wrestling teenagers. So I don't know. So I sent it to the mayor, and I said, hey, if there are any opportunities that fit me, I don't want to be on something just to be on something, but I'm interested. I'm considering getting back into where I can do a little more outside of we do a lot of public service here at the station. We
absolutely.
do. But
well, good. I'm glad.
I've had some people encouraging me from the sidelines too. But I did that. I said all that to say this. I think sometimes if you have an outside voice that's not elected, that has that specializes in something. Like I said, you could ask me something about the law, and you might as well speak French to me. I wouldn't know anything about it. But you could ask me something about communications, about even the radio systems you guys bought. I probably know more about that than a lot of people do. Things that I know about, if there's ever opportunities to contribute to that. Might want to throw my hat into doing something like that, business, something to that effect. So, who knows if they're? I don't want to be on legal services by any stretch of the imagination. That's not what I'm asking. But there you go.
I'm just glad we're kind of getting together and trying to make things better, and hopefully we'll get all straightened out.
At the end of the day, I think that's what everybody wants.
Oh, I do too.
Everybody just has, maybe different paths to get there.
Everybody has. You're right. Everybody has a different idea, different concerns, and we'll get there. I think the mayor will get us all together, and we'll figure out the way.
You want to see if anybody's got a question?
Sure.
I usually forget till we're like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We've been talking for 7 hours. If anybody has a question for Commissioner Wandale, if you'll give us a call right quick, 865-457-1380. Jasper will let us know, and we'll let you ask your question. Is there anything else going on that is important to you that you want to talk about? And it doesn't have to be about commission. Anything that's happening in Claxton, anything that's going on in your district, your area?
I'm concerned still with. I'm reaching out to TVA. There's been a lot of other issues, with the floods and things, and so TVA's.
Norris Lake is raising right now.
Yeah. So I had a conversation the other day and just asked them, hey, I really need to get some information from you as we approach the end of this year, because we passed a resolution to allow TVA Bull Run to take down the park, because it's was required by new federal law or whatnot. They got to manage all the ash that they have. So the park's going to at some point come down. So I want to be out front so it can let the community know what that process would be. We have a couple of pavilions one was from a family, so I just want to make sure we're going to take care of everything and find a new park.
Jasper must not be here. Good morning. Welcome to Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a question or comment?
Good morning to you, Ron.
Well, hello, Mike.
I wanted to ask Tracy why you got him on there. Where commission is at there with Scott Nations there with getting him a raise or whatever?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Thank you.
All righty, now I'll hang up and listen to you, and I want to let you know that Jasper said he listens to the listeners out there, because I told him to get Tracy back up there. So.
Oh, he does. Absolutely.
All right. I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Bye. Let me tell you what my understanding, what I've explained, and you can fix it.
Sure.
Mr. Nations.
You usually have a pretty good synopsis.
Mr. Nations was hired at 47. Passed all of his stuff and everything else, was then told he would be taken to 50, which he was.
Right.
And that was the commitment made by our commission. And then it was brought forth to give him a 20% raise.
Correct.
Which would have taken him to 60, right?
Correct.
And which is where Leon was, basically close to where Leon was.
I think his last number was 67. I think.
Oh, okay, all right.
Would have been.
And that's and if I understand that 20% that's going to happen or has happened.
No, it has not happened.
It has not happened. Okay, but it was told to me that it probably was gonna. So I don't know.
Well,
so
I've been told that quite a bit myself, and at each sector, I had to go meet the owner of my company last budget committee, so I couldn't make it to the budget committee to speak on behalf of the Veteran Services Committee, which I chair, and that motion passed through that committee.
Okay.
And then we forwarded it to operations. It passed operations, and then it actually got put on the consent agenda. And it passed.
Okay.
Now, we can argue whether that motion itself passed or not, but when you take, not only know this from when I was chairman, the agenda is responsibility of the chairman, and wherever you stick stuff on the consent agenda, and when that passes, that's passed.
Okay.
So that somehow, and keep in mind, through the Veterans Committee, we never make a motion to send things to the consent agenda. We make a motion to send it to full commission for recommendation.
Sure.
And so it went to the consent agenda. It passed. Now, it was just a veterans report, but within the report was these motions. That motion was in there.
The increase in salary.
So then, I guess discussion started happening amongst folks, and they're all concerned, and that we didn't go around through the right processes, didn't go through the budget committee, and
I've heard that.
And I said, well, we'll do whatever we need to do. I mean, I didn't know it was doing anything wrong by passing it. I mean, the Veterans Office is set up by TCA code. The Veterans Office is not ran by Mayor Frank.
Exactly.
It's an independent committee. Mayor Frank has say-so on hiring and firing, but she doesn't have say-so on setting the budget.
Gotcha.
She can give her recommendations, but it's really the committee that does that. So then they made a motion in budget to rescind the motion.
The consent motion.
Passing, and I was thinking, well, if you're having to rescind it, then it did pass, and why don't you just give them the raise? But, I think from my perspective, everybody got caught up on the process.
Well, our calls were from veterans, people that were, you might have even heard it, basically a guy saying, no, he was promised this, and they're not going to give it to him. Very upset because it appeared in the public.
Well, I'll say this about Mr. Scott Nations. Nation. I always put that S on there mistakenly. Scott, I never thought there'd be a gentleman that would exceed Mr. Jaquette. And I love Leon Jaquette, and he did a tremendous job. But Scott Nation is going so much deeper. I can't be more proud of the fact he represents our county and providing the services to our veterans. Just simply amazing, the things I've seen.
I'm glad, I'm really glad to hear that, because we've reached out, tried to get him to come on the radio, and tried to form some kind of because I had such a great communication with Leon, but we were told straight up he's not interested at all in coming on the radio, being on the WYSH. And then, it may be because he's busy, I don't know, but that was exactly. Well, you can ask Jasper.
No, it could be he's busy, but if I had, I'll ask Scott, because I've asked Scott before if he would go on the radio.
You've heard.
He said no problem. So maybe there's.
I have to get with Jasper.
Maybe he's a little concerned that people are going to try to challenge my vote or something.
No, Leon always brought all the things that were affecting our veterans, all the changes, all the new rules, and it's one of the things that we got. I don't want to say complimented on, but thanked for. People that didn't realize they didn't have their, DD 214. People who didn't realize they didn't realize that they could go reapply. That now Blue Water was available for Agent Orange, and a lot of different things that he brought. That I felt like people just didn't know about without some kind of being in the newspaper or being on the TV or being on the radio. A lot of people just don't pick up the phone every other month and go, are there any new rules that I can take advantage of? They just don't do that.
Talked to Scott yesterday or day before, and he's working with Judge Spitzer for a veterans drug court, and lots of good things going on. So I'll talk.
Yeah, ask him. Check with Jasper too, because Jasper talked to him.
I said, man, you going to go on the radio? You been on the radio yet? Yeah, I'm getting, but I think he might get just too busy, but
it's fine. Busy is good.
I think he would have zero problem come up here.
Good. Well, I just, like I said, I'd love to introduce him to the people and see what,
So so what I've been told now is it did not pass the 20% requested pay increase, and it's going to go. I think the recommendation from Commissioner Palmer was to have him come back to the budget cycle and make his request in a new budget. So I think we as a committee are going to make a recommendation to include that into the budget and then present it.
Without sounding harsh or whatever, but what is the reason to request a 20% raise? Just because that's close to where Leon was, or that's what everybody else pays, or he's doing it exceedingly
Looking
good
at the
job?
surrounding counties, you certainly can find a low ball here and there that might work 20 hours a week or not.
Well, we used to be that.
Yeah.
$14,000 a year, and yeah.
There's several that are in 100,000, 75,000, 85,000. And when you have somebody that's qualified and knows what to do, and I get that he doesn't write the check, okay? I
understand.
I get he doesn't write the check for all the veterans to get their disabilities or whatever. But he's brought in over probably now, I would suggest probably $8 million of new revenue to our county, to our veterans, and
finding them the services they deserve.
And I'm not interested in being negative about people. I can just tell you, I've been involved from 2006 when we had the part-time Mr. Riggs, who I respected immensely, all the way to today. And I can tell you from my perspective, I've never been more proud and confident of the Veteran Service Office that we have right now. And I would say that even if Mr. Nation wasn't given a raise, he would continue to do what he's doing.
Well, that's good. I just asked. I didn't know. I thought it's kind of, is it comps? Is it work? Is it whatever? But that's basically just keep making sure that he's at a level that
a couple of years ago, you might recall, I went to the state and I asked them to take some of the federal dollars coming in from the VA, and oh man, everybody's hair was on fire, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and I'm like, well, it's not your money, it's the veterans' money, and why not spread it out amongst these counties so we can service the veterans better? Because, and look, I'm not trying to be disparaging, but a fact's a fact. A veteran's not going to get very much help from that state official. It's just not going to happen. There's too many, and they can't respond fast enough. So why not give us the money? And the senator made a motion to put $50,000 in to all the counties that had VSO offices, and it got pulled. So that was 2 years ago, and I asked about it Monday.
It's always uncomfortable when we have to sit here and talk about individual and their job performance and all that, but it's the same time.
I'm proud of him. And yes, he got his secretary a raise, but that shouldn't be held against him. I mean, just because you got somebody in your office a raise, okay, well, sorry, you don't get one?
I'm going to jump back. You just said something. jump back to the legal services. Are you guys the ones that make the decision on the assistants in the legal services or in the law director's office on getting raises? Who makes that decision on?
My interpretation is now that there's a law director. The law director would make those determinations in his office.
And what are the education requirements like are there education requirements to work in his office? I guess, do we have paralegals? Do we have, like, is the assistant?
We had a paralegal, but she left.
Okay.
And I can't answer because I really don't know the two individuals in there what requirements they're required. I do know that Nicole's been there a long time and she knows her stuff.
Somebody was just calling, fussing, saying, they're going to be making $85,000 a year and don't even have a degree. And I don't.
Well, if
you haven't heard it from me because it was one of those things that I didn't know anything about. But since
we
we're
could throw
talking
out
about
salaries all day long. I mean, well, there's people over there making $75,000. That's a assistant to the assistant to the assistant in certain offices where you get your tags, but we don't.
Is that job available?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's okay. I mean, as we know in our county, it's okay as long as you're in the right area, But I would say that...
I'm going to keep on till I get you in trouble.
Well, that's all right. I get myself in trouble all the time. I haven't used any names, but I can tell you this, the elections office has grown quite a bit salary-wise, and I think it is all public information, so
sure.
It knocks down about $100,000 a year. Not bad.
Yeah, not bad. Bad for Anderson County, Tennessee.
I don't understand why that... Look, I understand it's a state mandate. We got to fund it. We got to do this, and we're going to do what the state says, no question. But why would there not be any interest in sharing information with the commission on things that are happening with the Elections Commission? Why not give us a report? Why not come talk to us? I mean, we don't see any of that. And then the people, if they got a problem, they got to go to the Election Commission meeting. If they know where it's at and when it is.
Well, straight up, what bears on that commission?
Mm-hmm.
Have you asked the actual people that serve on that? The election
I
commission?
Haven't. No, I haven't.
Because at the end of the day, they're appointed, and then they get to decide who. So it would be them that would tell the election commissioner, you need to go speak to commission.
I've been back when Dr. Rainey was there. I felt like Dr. Rainey was, he'd answer any questions,
sure.
Ask if you got any questions, and even if I wasn't the answer I was looking for, he'd give me an answer. So, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I don't. Again, when you're working for the public, in the public eye, I mean, you best be ready to answer questions when you ask questions, even if it's the wrong answer. You better have, just because nobody made you take the job.
Correct.
And so that's just part of it. So.
Now, American Nuclear over off Blockhouse Valley, next to the animal shelter.
Gotcha.
It's probably well over halfway clean now. I stop in occasionally. They're very cordial. I'll go into the trailer and meet people and ask questions, and most of the material is being shipped down to West Texas and being disposed of down there, and I'm hopeful that the property, according to them, could be done, cleaned up by June or July. Who knows what the weather does, but I'm
this year.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Oh, it's great news. Yeah.
And
I chased that.
That's what, a 30-some-odd year deal?
Mm-hmm.
At least 30.
1967 was when Mr. Wild started that little endeavor.
Really?
Yeah. Got a $300,000 federal grant from the federal government to start the business.
That's crazy.
Isotopes came from DOE.
Yeah, and there you go. And now they're going to Texas.
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Well, I'm glad Mike called, so I guess no more news is good news. Anything else that you want to talk about?
I don't think so. I'm sure when I get home, Shannon will say, "Why?"
No, we ain't done nothing too bad today, and I don't
No,
think
she'll say I forgot to say something.
Well, normally if she's buzzing you and you don't answer, she buzzes me.
I've said it over here and haven't really looked, so that's probably a good thing.
You might want to check before you go home and get in trouble. But I appreciate you coming in, and
I appreciate you and all you do. And
I'm gonna get the mayor to come back. She said last time she was here, it had been a long time, and she said I want to start, I want to start coming back. Anytime. I think even if we don't have, I hate getting you guys up here only when everybody's hair's on fire. I don't like, I like to talk about the good stuff as well.
Well, I mean, you said it best earlier, Ron. I know it sounds corny, but it is our job.
Mm-hmm.
It's our job to hear what the problems are and try to deal with them. And if we don't have an answer, I'm going to tell you, like I've told you, I don't know.
I'm lucky. I feel like, people talk about stuff all the time. I hear them, and they just have no clue of what's going on or why. It's just like with the animal shelter stuff or with Scott Nation. It's just like, oh, they're just out to get him. And
I feel bad for some of the commissioners because I felt like some of the commissioners take a bad rap because maybe they're not as vocal, right? Maybe they don't, and they vote and they stay with their vote, and then they're perceived as a bad person, which nobody up here is a bad person.
No,
not a one of them. They all have their hearts in the right spot. We might have different thoughts on how we get to A to Z or whatever, but I hate that part of it because I feel like a lot of commissioners catch a bad rap and they shouldn't. But
well, you know that, and I know that because we talk.
Mm-hmm.
Is my point. I know what I know, not because I'm anything special, but because you're my friend. Tim's my friend. Saber's my friend. I know. I know people that I can ask, and I know.
Right.
Joe out on the street don't, and that's why I say I like when you guys come in, because now Joe on the street, even if he don't hear it, somebody heard it,
right?
And it explains a little bit, both in hard times and good times, what the positions are.
Right.
And I don't think there's anything, there's nothing controversial about it. And
no.
I can't remember the last time we've had, I honestly can't remember the last time I've had a heated ask your neighbor. I really can't.
I can't either.
I really don't.
Thank goodness.
Recall. Yeah. Thank the Lord.
Maybe
we're doing something right.
We're getting better.
Well, honestly, I've said this before, and after the mayor and Mr. Emmert's election, it seemed like that at that point, everybody just went, all right, all the shaking up is done. Now let's figure things out. And it seems like from that moment, we've had our little issues, whether it be animal shelter or whatever, but you guys have really, both former commissioners and current commissioners, have worked together, or at least have, worked to get things done positive. It's just, at the end of the day, the arguing and stuff makes for great radio, but it really don't make for good government. And, I guess I'd rather have boring radio and good government at the end of the day. And I promise you, anytime I want, there's controversies out there everywhere. Hey, I could ask you about the school board. I won't.
What's going on there?
No, nothing yet.
Oh, okay.
No.
You had me worried.
No, I was just.
Well, I am excited about the Claxon School. The new school's going in. Dr. Parrott and school board, and of course, county commission, mayor's a part of that.
What's the build-out time for that?
I want to say the goal, I think Dr. Parrott said, was to try to get in the fall of 27. Now, that's very aggressive. And
that is aggressive.
I'm not sure we'll make that, but we'll see. But it's been awarded.
Have to have no rain from now till then.
It's been awarded, and we'll see where it's going to go. I still would like to figure out how we're going to transition the property of the old school, and we need a plan. We need to have a plan that works for our community, but also for our county as a whole. And I know everybody's got different opinions. Throw up apartments, do this, do that. But I haven't had any folks in my district say they want apartments. But we'll see. That's a bridge we'll cross later because you still got to move from the old school into the new school. And but I am excited about the new school. I love it.
And forgive me if you just said this and I missed it. Are we thinking about selling a property?
Yes.
Okay.
Because those funds, we did pass a motion in the Financial Management Committee to allow those funds to be used to pay towards the debt of the school, the new school.
Okay. And you're just trying to figure out who would be best to sell it to?
Yeah. I'd rather us as a group, whoever. I mean, I don't know which group that is, but we need, players at the table that.
How much you asking?
Well, Dr. Parrott said it appraised out like $4 to $5 million.
Okay.
But it's 17 acres, roughly. Next to a 4-lane, that'll be a 4-lane.
Right on the corner across from Weigel's. Okay.
I could see a new broadcast center.
The WYSH Broadcast Center.
Worldwide WYSH Radio Network.
I was thinking more like a Target.
Hey, no, we've had a lot of people ask for a grocery store. Sure.
Oh, Lord, yes.
Yeah, they would love a grocery store. Yes.
A grocery store would be very.
It'd be cool if we could get and again, that's where I've got to understand and get with Tyler and see what his thoughts are. And me and him's been able to work together. I think no problems. I would, we got to put a park somewhere. We got to put a park in, and I'm very confident TVA is going to make a donation to us to help offset the park we're going to lose. Now it ain't going to be enough to build a whole brand new park, but it certainly will go a long way, I think.
And explain to me why we have to lose the park, and why the new.
There is a new federal requirement for, I don't know if it was from EPA, it may have been, that these utilities have to maintain their coal ash.
Mm-hmm.
So bottom ash was used on the bottom of it.
I remember.
Okay, and then they covered it with clay. And it was deemed safe by TDEC. We tested
Completely.
it all. So now, because of that requirement, they have to put a fence around that and keep it within their footprint.
So they couldn't, even if they wanted to give it to the community.
Correct.
They couldn't do that.
Correct.
Because of the new EPA rule.
Correct. And they're going to take that whole footprint, of course. I think it's 911 acres total, believe it or not, that whole area.
Let me ask you something. With the new administration, the park is as safe today as it was 3 weeks ago.
Yes.
Even though they're going to put a fence up around it now and not let folks use it.
I'm still secretly hoping it gets
fixed.
Yeah, it doesn't have to do that.
My question was, the current administration has seemed that they're unwinding a lot of these things that seem to be overbearing, or that they perceive to be overbearing. Might be something that Congressman Flashman could. I mean,
no.
At the very least, if they could deed it to the county, or
we have that. The park,
if it's safe. I don't want anybody in there not safe.
No, it really doesn't have anything to do with the so-called safety of it. Now, there'll be environmentalists out there that would argue with me, and that's fine. That's their job. But I feel like it's been safe. I mean, look, we used to have, as we've talked about before, coal ash would rain down on us.
I remember. That's what the car wash is for.
That's exactly right. So, all of a sudden to be concerned with some coal ash that's buried at the bottom, that's bottom ash, which is the safest ash that you could have. I mean, anyway, because it's bound. It's the bottom ash it's the slag that's, it's not freeborn and all that kind of stuff. But, no, I'm hopeful that it can, and I get it from the Anderson County Conservation Board. Their concern is the cost to maintain the park and all that. But, we can argue that, you got to put ADA mulch down.
Well, if you move the park somewhere else, there's going to be a cost to maintain it. It's just going to be on the other side of the road or somewhere. So there's going to be, unless the Anderson County Conservation Board doesn't believe that the citizens of Claxton need a park.
Well, I won't say that, but I do believe they look at it as a cost.
Well, it would be a cost.
Yeah.
But
I also look at it as look, that's all we got in Claxton. The park. That's it. And then we got the Optimist Club we rent out to people, but it's we got the ball fields, and the fellow that's been running that, I think his name's Jake Lowe. He's been doing a good job. It's
I think you might stand a good chance. You reach out to Congressman Fleischman or somebody to
it's a good idea.
Amend a little bit of that, because it's not like they discovered something wrong. It's not like anything's changed. It's not like there's been a discovery that says, oh, we got to fence this off for the public's well-being. It's some administrator somewhere that's made a decision about something we've got caught up in the red tape of it. And it seems like that somebody with some common sense could go in and say, you guys been letting this community use this area for half a century. It's stupid to pull it out from under them.
It kind of knocked me off my heels, but they at least they're talking. We'll see.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
Yeah. and I will say this: TVA Bull Run did make a donation to the Claxton Volunteer Fire Department. Gave them a fire truck, which was very kind of them, and
sure.
It's a pumper truck, I think, a smaller one.
You've said since the day you were elected that as you educated yourself, TVA has been a good partner to have, a good neighbor to have,
They have.
Through coal ash and everything else, they've been, at the end of the day,
we got that 125 acres where they were going to put we're still waiting on that ruling to come out from TDEC if they got to dig it up or not. And if they don't have to dig it up, then that property over there is going to be sitting there looking for something to do.
Mm-hmm. Lots of good stuff on the horizon. Lots of stuff on the horizon.
Yes.
We'll say good stuff, but there's lots of stuff, both good and, I guess, taxing and hard work.
There was another thing I wanted to mention to you that surprised me very much so, is the mineral severance tax. There was a bill put forward in the legislature to consider, I think it's a 20-year program, might be 10 years, but I think it's 20. A current mineral severance tax was started, I think, back in 1979 or 77. You could go up to 15 cents a ton. That'd be rocks.
danger, traveling through this world alone. Yet there's no sickness, no toil or danger in that bright light to which I go. I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there no more to roam.
Christ shall come with shout of acclamation to take me home. What joy shall fill my heart? Then I shall bow in humble adoration and there proclaim, my God, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sings my soul, my Savior God to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art.
She slipped through the door, sat on the last pew, a heart full of questions and a world torn in two, bearing the weight of years of regret. She listened to the preacher when he stood up and said, if you're somewhere between doubt and believing, well, friend, I have answers for all that you're needing. Ask me who, and I'll tell you it's Jesus. Ask me how, and I'll say it's the blood. Ask me where, and I'll take you to Calvary. Ask me why, and I'll tell you it's love. It's been years since she